Welcome to the Black Narrative. Every shadow hides a story. Before we begin the story, we want to know, where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments, because every place has its own shadow. The air inside Eason Grand Hotel was thick with frustration and sweat. Outside, New York simmered under a record-breaking July heat wave. But inside the grand marble-floored lobby, things were boiling for a different reason. A line of irate international guests crowded the front desk, voices clashing in a dozen languages. The central air conditioning had gone down just as the hotel was hosting an international linguistic symposium. Fate, it seemed, had a cruel sense of irony. "Can someone please fix this?" a British man barked, loosening his tie. A woman in an elegant silk sari fanned herself with a tourist brochure, her face glistening. A Japanese businessman muttered rapidly, his voice rising with every incomprehensible reply from the staff. Behind the desk, Nena, the young receptionist, barely a year into the job, was floundering. "I'm so sorry," she repeated again and again, her voice thinning to a near whisper. Claire Easton, the hotel's CEO, watched the chaos from the second-floor balcony of her office. She loathed inefficiency, but she loathed even more things she couldn't control. Her reputation was built on efficiency and keeping a safe distance from frontline problems. Empathy, she'd learned long ago, was a luxury she couldn't afford. It was a trap, a weakness that had once cost her brutally. Then she saw him, a tall man in a technician's uniform, his dark brown hair slightly disheveled, quietly working behind the reception counter. He didn't look like someone who could fix an AC. He looked like a professor. Thin-rimmed glasses rested low on his nose, and his intense green eyes scanned the intricate control panel with deep concentration. Within minutes, the hiss of cool air filled the lobby. Guests sighed in relief, but many still grumbled in their native tongues. And then the extraordinary happened. The man straightened up, nodded to a relieved Nena, and then, in flawless Spanish, said to a woman, "Señora, disculpe la interrupción. El aire acondicionado ya está funcionando." His smile was reassuring. The woman, who had been scowling, smiled back. Then he turned to the Japanese man, speaking in fluent, calming Japanese. And so on. Italian, Arabic, Russian, German, French. He spoke to 7 people, calming them all, apologizing for the inconvenience, explaining calmly that the temperature would soon return to normal. He asked for no recognition, no applause. He simply did his job, and then disappeared into the back. Claire, who had witnessed it all, felt something stir within her. It wasn't just kindness, it was a raw, unpolished humanity, something she hadn't seen in a very long time. His name was Ethan Cole. Claire found him on the payroll records. Night maintenance technician. Low pay. Frequent overtime. Nothing there explained a man who spoke 7 languages and calmed an enraged linguistic symposium with such ease. She found herself looking for him in the following days. She'd pretend to check the thermostat in her office, or ask about minor repairs in the lobby. She wanted to know more. She discovered he was a single father to a 6-year-old son named Leo, who suffered from primary immunodeficiency. Leo required countless hospital visits, and Ethan's job, with its night shifts, allowed him to care for his son during the day. He was, she learned, a former linguistics professor with a PhD from Columbia University. He had given it all up for Leo. He was quiet, humble, and fiercely devoted. A few weeks later, a proposal landed on Claire's desk. Automate Ethan's position. Cut costs. The hotel chain was tightening its belt, and maintenance was an easy target. Claire looked at the sterile, impersonal words on the page, then thought of Ethan's quiet dignity, his soothing voice in 7 languages, the way he bent over Leo's hospital bed in a photo she'd discreetly found online. No, absolutely not. But she couldn't just say no. She needed a reason, a logical, data-driven explanation for keeping a man who was, on paper, easily replaceable. That night, she waited for him in the lobby. "Mr. Cole," she began, a hint of formality in her voice. He looked up, surprised. "Claire?" he corrected gently. "Please." She almost smiled. "Ethan," she tried. "I need to talk to you about your position." He tensed, his shoulders slumping slightly. "I understand," he said, his voice flat. "Leo has another hospital visit coming up, and I know the overtime has been high." "No," Claire interrupted. "It's not that. I need to show the board your value, your unique value. You're more than just a technician. You're a bridge." Ethan looked confused. "A bridge?" "Yes," she said, leaning forward. "You connect with people. You solve problems beyond the technical. You embody human connection in a way a machine never could. You could train staff. You could build a program that ensures our guests feel truly seen, truly heard, in every language." Ethan was silent for a long moment, then a slow, thoughtful smile spread across his face. "You want me to weaponize my soft skills?" he joked, a spark in his eyes. Claire laughed, a genuine, rare sound. "Exactly. Show them why human touch is indispensable." And so, they began. Claire, subtly, without asking for anything in return, helped Leo get into an experimental immunotherapy trial, an incredibly expensive program with a notoriously long waiting list. Ethan, unaware of her direct intervention, simply saw it as a miracle. He started coming up to her office during his day off, armed with flowcharts and ideas, his mind, once a professor's, now fully engaged in this new challenge. He spoke passionately about cultural nuances, about the power of a simple, correctly phrased apology, about anticipating guest needs before they even knew them. Claire found herself looking forward to his visits, to the quiet intensity in his eyes, to the way he lit up when talking about his son or his theories on human interaction. She learned about his love for obscure poetry, his gentle sense of humor, his endless patience. She found herself sharing details of her own life, things she hadn't spoken of in years, about the loneliness of being a CEO, the sacrifices she had made. One crisp autumn morning, Claire called an all-hands meeting. She stood before the entire hotel staff, a rare smile gracing her lips. "I want to introduce you to the new head of our Guest Empathy and Cultural Outreach Initiative, Ethan Cole." A ripple of murmurs went through the room. Ethan, standing beside her, looked shocked, then a little overwhelmed. Claire continued, her voice ringing with conviction. "Ethan has shown us the invaluable power of human connection, of truly seeing our guests, of bridging cultural divides with understanding and compassion. He embodies the very soul of what Easton Grand stands for." She spoke of his linguistic talents, his dedication, his quiet heroism. She made it clear that this initiative was paramount, and Ethan was the only man for the job. But as the applause faded, whispers began to circulate. "He's getting close to the CEO," someone muttered. "Must be sleeping his way to the top." Ethan, always sensitive to perceived impropriety, heard the whispers. He saw the glances. He felt the shift. He was a man of quiet dignity, and the idea that he was using his connection with Claire, or that his son's health was somehow tied to professional advancement, horrified him. He didn't come to work the next day, or the day after that. He simply disappeared. Claire was furious, then worried. She knew exactly what had happened. She had been so caught up in celebrating him, in showing the world his worth, that she had forgotten to protect him from the very scrutiny he had always avoided. She called another all-hands meeting. This time her voice was sharp, unyielding. "I understand there have been whispers," she began, her gaze sweeping across the room. "Let me be absolutely clear. Ethan Cole is a man of impeccable character. His promotion is based solely on his extraordinary abilities and his dedication to our hotel's values. He is a single father, a brilliant mind, and a man who has made profound sacrifices for his child. She recounted, in stark, unvarnished detail, the challenges Leo faced, the medical bills, the endless hospital visits, the quiet despair of a father struggling to keep his child alive. She spoke of Ethan's quiet humility, his refusal to ask for help, his unwavering devotion. If anyone believes for a moment that his personal life, or my support of a program that benefits all our guests, is anything less than professional, then they fundamentally misunderstand the meaning of empathy, and they have no place in this organization. The room was silent. A few staff members looked down, ashamed. Claire then found Ethan at Leo's school, waiting for his son. "You ran," she said, her voice softer now, tinged with hurt. He looked tired, defeated. "I can't be a distraction. Leo needs stability. He doesn't need people talking about his father in that way." "Ethan," Claire said, taking his hand, "you are not a distraction. You are the opposite of a distraction. You are the heart of this hotel. And those whispers, they're gone. I made sure of it." He looked at her, his green eyes searching hers. "You did that for me?" Claire smiled, a genuine warm smile. "I did that for us. For Leo. For the quiet power of love." Ethan returned. Slowly, quietly, he began to build. Human First, the empathy initiative, became his magnum opus. He didn't just train staff, he inspired them. He taught them to listen with intention, to observe with compassion, to anticipate needs with genuine care. He designed programs for weary travelers, for families with sick children, for elderly guests who simply needed a kind word. He brought in translators not just for language, but for cultural understanding. He instilled a philosophy that put the human element above all else. He became a beacon, a quiet leader whose influence spread far beyond the Eastern Grand. A year later, the Human First initiative was a resounding success, expanding to other hotels in the chain. Claire watched him, filled with a quiet pride. He had blossomed, his quiet genius finally given the space to flourish. One evening, she called him to her office. "Ethan," she began, "I have something for you." She slid a folder across the table. Inside was a blueprint for a new scholarship. "The Ethan Cole Scholarship for Hospitality Students with Family Hardships," it read. "For those who understand that true service begins with the heart." Next to it, space for his. "I thought we could launch it together," she said, "for the ones who were never seen." Ethan looked at her, really looked at her. Not as a CEO, not as the woman who helped his son, not even as the person who once pulled him from the edge of invisibility, but as a partner. "You keep doing this," he said. "Doing what?" "Speaking to people the way no textbook ever taught." Claire smiled. "You taught me that." He pulled a pen from his pocket, signed his name next to hers, and closed the folder. That night, after Leo was asleep, Ethan and Claire stood on the rooftop once more. The city shimmered below them, 1,000 lights blinking like distant stars. No one else was there. They didn't need to speak, not tonight. Instead, they simply stood, hands intertwined, faces tilted toward the sky. And in the hush between words, and the comfort of a shared stillness, they both understood. The most powerful language was the one they had built together, word by word, step by step. Love not as a performance, but as a quiet, everyday promise. If this story touched your heart, click subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss more powerful stories from the Black narrative. Every shadow hides a story.